Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world, and to special mention to Louisiana, who gets her signal as Howard and Jack blows it all the way out there. They get up to those antennas and just soplangy. They blow and they blow and they blow. Good morning, geniuses. How are you guys doing this morning?
Yeah, Jack was just saying, yeah, we blow, all right.
I wonder what he means by that.
I know what he means.
Sometimes.
I don't need that. I know already. And he's right, too.
Yeah.
And good morning to Perth, Australia. There's got to be at least one listener down there.
At least one.
At least one. You're very popular in Australia.
Oh, really? Oh, I got to find that out, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. How you doing this morning, guys?
Well, we're doing pretty good, and Tin Cans and String are holding together so far. So far, so good.
Yeah, they came up real easy today.
Yeah.
Only had to use a mouse.
Rather than the hammer that we have to use sometimes.
Well,
Jack, you got some wisdom for us today?
Yeah, I did something this morning. It's really kind of a description of what fascism is. What is wrong with our politicians on the right and the left? Why are they demonizing the immigrant, the woman, the gay? There's a branch of government that has tremendous power and influence over government. It's called corporate. It's called capital, and it equals fascism. It's where the corporate bribes, buys off, and corrupts the political processes, takes over government, and uses government as a shield or a cloak to plunder the world and its resources, including the people. Worst of all, it makes the people an instrument of fascism.
Well, just remember, to the corporations, fascism may look good to you now, but later on, it won't when they take over your properties, when they take over your companies, when they tell you what you can do. So beware of what you're buying. It's buyer beware.
Buyer beware.
Yeah. All right. That's about it for me.
Well, buyer beware is really the statement of fact. Anyway, folks, today's program is titled, and for once, we're going to start with today's title because, it also includes a part of the word that Jack said, which is, why do we do that to immigrants? Anyway, title of the show today is Project Playground, a great story. Ryan slams authoritarian narcissist, and Paul Ryan, that is, and anti-immigration. I tell you what, let's read the subtitle, which says, Allyster Waters and Matt Clayton of Project Playground have a great story. Former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan slams the authoritarian narcissist, and Abbott signs a harmful, unconstitutional bill. And I was going to start there, given that Jack is there, but I want to give a feel-good story first because Allyster Waters is a longtime listener of Politics Done Right. Most of the time, she listens to both programs. Both the KPFT program as well as the program that we do at 3 o'clock on the internet and elsewhere. And she sent me a text saying, hey, we're going to be in Humble doing a good thing. I'd love for you to come, say hi, whatever. And I can never miss an opportunity to see our PDR posse folk or to get a good story that just shows our humanity. And that's what this was all about. So I'm going to play 2 short clips. The first one is Allyster, that I gave her a short interview that I did out there with her. And the second one, I talked to the pastor who's running that organization that is doing some great work out there. So let's go ahead and start there. I'll start with Allyster, and then we'll go with Pastor Matt Clayton. Let's do that. Allyster Waters, PDR Posse numero uno. You are out here with what organization again?
It's called Project Playground, and my pastor, Matt, does digital media with my church out of Conroe. And him and his wife take these playgrounds that would go to landfills because they can't be reused in the United States for legal purposes, and it gets shipped overseas to various developing countries to bring joy to little ones that have never played on a playground before.
It's a great thing, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It's killing two birds with one stone.
With one stone, absolutely so.
You know, keeping this wonderful stuff out of landfills.
And at the same time can serve other people. Right.
Giving it another life to make other people happy.
Look, you're talking about right now being disabled, but that coming out here and doing something positive so society does something for your mental health. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. On so many levels, serving helps me personally have an attitude of gratitude. I appreciate what I have in my life, and it helps me strive to be a better person. I see impacts with my volunteering, and not that I'm the only person that gets something positive out of it emotionally. I know that like this Project Playground that I volunteer with, it brings a smile to a kid's face. So that the ripple effect of it all is amazing. And that fills my bucket so that I can water other flowers in the garden. And it keeps me from wallowing and laying under blankets and going in a downward spiral. Because when you isolate, that can happen with a mental illness. But if you put yourself out there with people that are of like minds or kind people,
I like that, kind
be
people.
With kindness.
It is so easy to be kind, isn't it?
It really is. And there's less feeling of judgment when you're with people that are doing something positive for a community. So it's definitely worthwhile.
Thank you, Allyster.
Absolutely.
Believe it or not, Allyster has been a PDR Posse member now for years, and this is the first time we've actually met in person. It was great seeing somebody and coming down to this part of town to actually do something positive for society, helping kids, not only here by removing those older playgrounds to put new ones in, but having that shipped overseas to make the lives of, well, I tell you, let's let the pastor talk about his project, because this is an organization that he founded, he and his wife founded, which anybody who is doing things to make the lives of others more pleasurable, they're my kind of person. I want you to listen to what he has to say. Matt Clayton, how you doing this morning?
Doing well, how are you?
Hey, look, I understand that you guys are doing a great job, not only here in the States, but actually for a lot of folks around the world with what you do here. Tell me a little bit about your organization and the project that you're doing.
Yeah, so we're Project Playground, and we like to say we build playgrounds for kids who've never seen one. We take down playgrounds in the U.S. that have been used already and are end of life. We fix them up, repair them, and then we rebuild them in communities that are underserved throughout the developing world.
Now, how comes you're not doing it right here? You know, some people say, okay, you're taking all these great playgrounds to the developing world, but there are places in the United States that probably need some playgrounds. What's going on?
Totally. Well, there's a couple reasons. The biggest reason is liability. So liability is a big issue for playgrounds, and the entities that carry the liability, they don't want to ever have that liability follow them in the U.S. So when we bring them overseas, we actually purchase the playgrounds and set up agreements so that we now own the playgrounds as an organization. We excuse them from all liability, and then by building it overseas, it protects all the groups that the ISDs, the communities, the cities, from any form of entail liability on that.
What got you into doing that? Because that's a pretty ingenious idea.
I've lived overseas for a long time, and I was in a bunch of countries in underserved communities. I noticed that there weren't any playgrounds anywhere for kids. And so we kind of started building playgrounds, first using local materials. And then someone tipped us off to the fact that, in the U.S., every year, thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment that's perfectly good has to get replaced because of liability. And so we come in, tear it out, and then we're able to.
Now, when you ship this overseas, I imagine there's a lot of cost involved in that. So you ship it in containers over in ships to whatever country.
We'll ship 3 or 4 playgrounds in a container, depending on how big they are.
Right.
And then we'll ship them down into any country. So we've been to 17 countries, and we've built 69 playgrounds.
69?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, in doing all of this, I imagine also that you have agents or associations with other groups overseas, or do you guys take your people from here and go rebuild them over there?
Well, it's a both and. And so what we do is we always work with organizations and established groups in these other countries. So we're never going in just building out of nowhere. So we're always working. And one of our goals is to empower local leaders. So typically it's somebody who's already caring for children, somebody who's already working with kids in their community. They want to do better by them. So we work with them to build a playground to help them as a leader in their community and to reach more kids. So we work with those organizations throughout the whole process, and then we bring in a team of installers. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 people, sometimes it's 15, depending on the location and the availability. And then we work with, typically we build with the local guys in the community as well, so they give them some ownership into what we're doing.
That is great. I mean, it also brings a certain amount of gravitas to the person who is putting it together to, I guess, help them move on through the community.
No, absolutely. When we go and build these playgrounds, we always give the person who helped us bring it here all the credit. We don't care. It's about them. And so we tell the community, hey, look, this person, they brought this playground for you. We're here to help, and we're super thankful.
Matt Clayton, good work. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you.
Take care. I simply, when Allyster told me about this going down, I simply, first of all, I didn't intend to go interview the pastor or anything when I got there or figure it out. But, I was so impressed with what they were doing. I mean, they had power equipment there, breaking concrete and doing all these things to get it done. I never asked the pastor, hey, are you a Trumpist? Hey, are you a right-wing guy or not? Because these were just a whole bunch of people out there. Look, I can make assumption based on who was out there and where they're from and what organizations they're with. But they were just out there doing a great thing. And in this time when we have all this polarization going on and it seems like people are at each other's throats, the great thing that I saw out of this is like we're just talking about people doing a good thing. And imagine if we could take our animus or take all this bad faith and all this kind of stuff and just think, number one, how can we make the life of somebody else better? How can we just do something for somebody else? And that's what really got to me when I got out there and just saw all these people out there doing some just basic, great work that's going to not only help where they're taking the playground equipment out, but knowing that playground equipment is going to go and make the lives of many kids out there around the world better. And guess what else it does? And I was trying to get the pastor to kind of bring that up. It gives Americana goodwill, right? Right now, a lot of people, when they're overseas, they're seeing what we're doing in Israel. They're seeing what we're doing in many countries where our better selves are not being displayed. And to watch a whole bunch of Americans come over into community after community after community and just do something nice that helps individuals, that put a smile on a kid's face, that, and it came and, it was partially responsible for that. A whole bunch of regular folk in America helping a whole bunch of regular folk in country number 1, country number 2, right up to country number 17, which is what, Eric, they're up to 17 countries, 69 playgrounds so far, Eric, and counting. Of course, they've broken down this playground here in this elementary school, I think it was, in Humble, and they're going to go out there and install that in another country. It was just a story that kind of warmed my heart, and I hope it did the same to you all. It's not all about warring factions. It's also about us just doing something for somebody else. Anyhow, folks, give us a call, 713-526-5738. Again, let me put that on the screen as well, 713-526-5738. If you want to see the work that these guys were doing at the playground where I taped, you can just go to the newsletter that I send out every morning at 5 a.m. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Why don't you start calling in now? I think the phones are working. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Extension number 2 to be on air right now. Let me just say one other thing, though. We are going through this period of what we call our silent auction. Is it silent auction? I think that's what we call it. And that is where, in order to make our February fund drive go shorter, we want to tell folks, at your leisure, go to kpft.org and contribute whatever you can by just hitting that donate button. And please do remember to use Politics Done Right as the program that brought you there, that you're supporting. Again, you can just get to that by going to kpft.org and hit the donate button, or you can go to call 713-526-5738 and hit extension number 1 to donate. And, we'll take your call and you'll continue to allow us to do what we're doing. The second topic we're going to hit today is immigration, SB4. But I see that there's a call in, so I'm going to wait for Jack to process that call before I go ahead and start the second topic of the day. So let's go ahead and bring Harry into the fold. Good morning, Harry. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Como estás? Hola to you, Roberto, and good morning to Howard, and good morning to Jack Van Dever. I love their wisdom. I love Howard's Great Wide Open show. You all do a tremendous job. I like your piece there about the pastor and doing good things for those 17 countries with the playgrounds. And I'll talk about the church that I'd like you to come to one day when you're able to come. Because I keep telling the pastor, I keep trying to get Eberto to come, but
I will come. Look, Harry, let me just say you're correct. I will come. Let's. What part of town are you in again?
I'm in, it's in Missouri City. It's the Fondren Church, 79 West Fuqua. You can look it up on some of those old emails.
Yeah, Missouri City. I the next time I'll I go out to Missouri City ever so often, but I promise you we are going to get together sometime. We're talking about an hour and change away from me right now, but I'll make that trip, my friend. Anyway, continue, sir.
Yeah. When you're able to do it, because that's what I tell the pastor. When he's able to do it, he'll do it. We'll work that out.
Yes, sir.
So I was saying, with our church, our church gave 100 turkeys away for people in need, because we have a food drive there, in which we get food every Wednesday. And I told you about this months ago, that they bring my food to my house. They bring it either Wednesday or Thursday, or sometimes on Friday. But they do a lot of good for that, and they're giving Christmas toys away. They did that last Thursday. They're doing it again this Thursday. So it's good that they do good things for people in need, because that's one of the things that the Bible does teach, and what Christ talked about is to help the needy, in terms of feeding, if they need food, or they need clothing, or even if they need some money. People have given me money in the church, my church friends. And people have, matter of fact, I've gotten some clothes the members of the church. Just people doing good things for people. And when I can help people, I help them out and I give them good things and I share my knowledge of things that I know, and, just to try to help people and so we can learn from each other.
I love that, Harry. I love that. And by the way, congratulations on the work that your church is doing, because in as much as I always tell people this because I'm a humanist. And when I'm talking church stuff, I usually say that just to let people kind of get the feel like you don't have to sit back down and just be because you're not of a religion, not of a culture or whatever, not enjoy the fruits of everybody's labor and just being able to coexist with each other and love on each other. So I thank you for what what you are doing along with your church. Anything else before I jump over to Spike?
Well, I wanted to know, you were yesterday when you were talking about democracy, saving our democracy, and we have to keep pushing. We have to fight these rats, as Howard would say, these GOP people. I heard a whole bunch of stuff from Arnie's show today, that preceded your show. But you were talking about that Panama mine. I wanted to read up on that, on how that was hurting your home country with the damage that mine that they were doing.
Sure. Go ahead, and when you go to Google and just put Panama space mine. I was going to tell you the word in Spanish, but you want our English articles. So just put Panama space mine and Supreme Court. Panama space mine space Supreme Court, and you'll get a whole lot of stories about what occurred there. And the reason I ask you to put Supreme Court is that will center it onto the resolution of what the people did and how they were successful in doing it. So it's a great story. But anyway, Harry, let me go ahead and tell you thank you so kindly for your call, and let me get to Spike. All right.
And I will. I'll touch on Joe Biden and Donald Trump another day because, like I said, we have to fight these loose cannons.
Absolutely, we'll be here. We'll be here tomorrow, and you are my regular, so we'll be here tomorrow, brother. Have a great one.
All right. Have a good day. Adios.
Adios. Come on in, Spike. How are you doing this morning, Spike?
Hey, how are you all?
I'm doing fine, sir.
Right on. Okay. Hey, man. What bothers me is how come people can't see what's really going on over there in Israel? That's what I can't understand. How come people can't see that the United States is behind all of that that's going on? And then act like we sending humanitarian stuff over there, but they study sending weapons over there. I mean, how come people can't see this, man? And when you hear Blinken them getting on TV talking, you can see that they study through their words to make they lie that they give. They want people to believe that, but you can look right through it. How come, man, people can't see this? Is what I can't understand that, man. Let
me try to give you an answer, Spike, as measured as I can. And the reason I'm starting to speak a little bit more about this issue here at KPFT as well is because exactly as you say, people are not informed correctly. Even if you go onto the Twitter space and all the other spaces, trying to have a sensible conversation on the issue gets in trouble. First, let me just say that whenever none of the statements that I'm making here, Spike, and bear with me, I'm going to be a little bit winded here because I want to be careful in how I answer your question.
Yeah, I got you. I understand.
Okay. All right. So here's the deal, Brother Spike. The foundation of Israel, there are a whole lot of stories about how it came to be, whether it should be, etc. Those are questions now that for practical purposes are over. Okay, I won't get into the genesis of Israel because, again, there is an Israel and Palestinians were vacated out of the land that they were in under the British protectorate. We're not going to get into that specifically because that would be just as we getting into America belonged pretty much to the indigenous people in America. We came over. The indigenous people ain't getting it back. Okay, so those are statements of fact. Now, what we can do something about or understand is the present. And Hamas did a horrendous terrorist act in killing, assassinating, murdering a whole bunch of our Jewish brothers and sisters. That is also a fact. They did a bad thing. That was wrong. Israel, in revenge for that, right? In revenge for that, goes into Gaza searching or presumably, notice I'm saying, presumably searching for those people who effected that murder, that terrorist act on Israeli. Any Jewish person that is listening to me right now, whether they are a Zionist or they're just a generic Jewish person, there's nothing that I've said so far that one can disagree with. And by the way, I do not fall for the trope of somebody attempting to call me anti-Semitic, because I'm not. I'm not in the least. And I temper much of what I say after making sure that I clear a lot of what I say with my Jewish partners. All right. Now, Israel presumably goes into Gaza to capture those criminals, those terrorists who murdered their people. I digress. Do remember that Benjamin Netanyahu turned a blind eye and made it clear that he wanted Hamas funded because he needed a terrorist organization funded so that the Palestinian Authority would not be a legitimate government he could negotiate with to form a two-state solution, which is what the United Nations has sanctioned, which he doesn't want. Israel wants, they complained when Rashida Tlaib spoke about from the river to the sea in the context of saying that people should be living together, not letting folks understand that Netanyahu believes in that statement from the river to the sea, but without having Palestinians have any power whatsoever in what this river to the sea of Israel would mean. And if anybody have any doubt, that statement from the river to the sea was a part of the Likud platform. It was in the Likud platform, black and white. People, please look it up, and we can have a honest, sensible discussion. Now, that said, Israel goes into Gaza under the pretext that it's going to root out Hamas. In the process thus far, they have leveled or destroyed about 70% of the infrastructure in Gaza. In the process, they have murdered 20,000 Palestinians. There are 1,200 Israelis that are dead from that terrorist act. There are 20,000 Palestinians. And every time Joe Biden, every time Blinken, every time any of these people are asked about Israel's what one has to consider a genocide now in Palestine, in Gaza, every time our leaders are asked about that, they say Israel has a right to defend itself and Israel has the right to do what they're doing, but they need to be better. They talk about, come on, Israel, please don't kill as many people. They should be saying, kill nobody. But they're saying, please don't kill as many people as you're going after these terrorists. Stick with me, Spike. Stick with me. We're making the moral argument here, Spike.
I got you.
20,000 dead Palestinians. That can only occur where we don't call that an emergency by the United States. The United States can only say it's not an emergency that 20,000 people are dying if you think those people are lesser. If you think less of those people, if you think of those people the same way you thought of the people where I am from, Panama, where to get Manuel Antonio Noriega, you could murder thousands of Panamanians to do it and call them collateral damage, just like Israel is calling the Palestinians collateral damage because they're being used as human shields. If they're being used as human shields, then you wait. It's not like there's a time limit in finding Hamas. It's not like you can't protect your borders from Hamas as you wait them out. The humane thing to do would be to wait them out. But they didn't. The idea is there's much more. Now, you said something that could be sinister, Brother Spike. You said, don't we know what's going on? There's a statement that Brother Biden said many years ago, and he said this: if there wasn't an Israel, we would have had to invent an Israel. And that statement for days, for weeks, for months, I'd never heard the statement before, but it had given me pause. Because what does that really mean? And I put that out there for all of you listeners, Jewish and otherwise. What does that mean? In other words, go ahead, Spike. Go ahead. I want to finish this statement. Let me finish this statement. In other words, it's not about... Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Don't finish what you was doing. Saying.
Okay. Now, it's not about my Jewish brothers and sisters. It's not about my Palestinian brothers and sisters. It's about power. It's about those who control the world. The Jews are just an afterthought for these great powers. The Palestinians are just an afterthought for these powers. But we do need Israel for a specific reason at all costs. And while those bombs that are made here in the United States are dropped and used to murder innocent civilians in Gaza, all that blowback ultimately will be coming back on us. We're in vacation time. Beware, Americans. Beware of what our government is allowing to occur. Continue, my brother Spike.
Okay. And you were saying, you asked every listener, what was that statement? What do a person think that statement meant when it said it would have been an Israel created? Then you said you want everybody's opinion on why was that statement made?
Right.
Is that what you were saying? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. What did they? Why did they build the Suez Canal? Why did they clear out that land and so that waterway could go up in there? What did they build the Suez Canal for?
The same reason they built the Panama Canal, to make commerce better for the powerful. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly what like you say, to make commerce better. But it was to go over there and pillage the continent of Africa to get that oil, that diamonds, that gold, all those minerals, to bring that out of there. That, like you say, that's why Israel was created, to be the protector of that waterway. That's why they give them nuclear weapons of mass destruction, so they can protect that area that they built over there, so they could bring all that stuff out of there. That's why they built it.
Now, let me just say that, and that Spike, let me just say that doesn't only apply to why there's complete and entire support for Israeli government, whether it's a good government or not, but that applies to many countries around the world, just exactly as you say. Because they use all these other places as a source of raw material. We bring the raw material from these third world countries. We add value to it in these quote unquote first world countries. And then we send back some of it It's look. The pillage has been going on for centuries. The pillage of the rest of the world has been occurring for centuries. And and one of the reasons we don't like to teach history in America, why the right and to some extent neoliberal Democrats are don't put up a big fight or a big fuss when we are talking about things around the world, is because when Americans are great people. Our Jewish brothers and sisters are great people. You know what is the most important thing that we should know about this is that we are also a very uninformed people. Last night, as I was spinning, I do my Netflix as I spin, and there is a new documentary from a book that was written, I think, in 2017 called "Stamped from the Beginning." I want everybody who's listening to my voice. I don't normally advertise. Well, yeah, I do. Go watch it. Go watch this thing called Stamped from the Beginning. And to my white brothers and sisters, doesn't matter how uncomfortable at times it makes you feel. For your brother here at KPFT, I'm asking you, watch it from the beginning to the end. Watch it from the beginning to the end. The name of the program, it's a book, but you're not going to read the book, but watch the Netflix program called Stamped from the Beginning. It's an important education piece. Please do. Please watch that program.
What is that on?
It is on, what is it called now? Bear with me a second. It's on Netflix called Stamped, and it's called Stamped from the Beginning. Okay, it's very important. I would like all, and I look, black folks don't have to watch it because you lived it, but I'm asking I'm asking kindly my white brothers and sisters. I need you to watch this. We need to all understand what's going on, because a lot of the way our government has screwed us and continue to screw us is because we are uninformed. But I got to go to the other call, Spike. So thank you so kindly for calling in, my brother. Okay. Let's go to Augie. And folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. All lines are open. Let's go to brother Augie. How you doing, sir?
Okay. Better than yesterday morning when I couldn't get a hold of you guys.
I know. We had our string. I guess Howard had one string that got nicked or something, so the vibrations weren't. I'm talking VS. Go ahead, bro.
Well, I think it's a short that happened when it gets nicked. Yes. But anyway, about being uninformed. Yesterday, I think they were talking about abortion.
Yes.
And people forget that our attorney general is married, had a mistress, and paid for her abortion.
Yeah,
but now
amazing.
He doesn't want abortions for anybody else. And then about what happened with Hamas, and nobody asked why it happened. They're just seeing the carnage, but there's a reason it happened, and that's because of Netanyahu. And on the media, we don't get to see all this stuff. There were protest marched by Israeli Jews. They had a protest march blaming Netanyahu for what Hamas did. And people don't realize that the kibbutzes that were attacked were predominantly anti-Netanyahu.
Yes, and they wanted to help. Yeah, they wanted to help their Palestinian brothers and sisters in Gaza, but the people in Gaza don't know that, right? So I mean, it's just amazing much of what misinformation can do for you. Continue, brother.
Yeah, and even rabbis were speaking against Netanyahu after the Hamas attack. Mm-hmm. The rabbis are speaking against Netanyahu, but people don't realize that, and that's because we don't pay attention. And it was on the news like one time about the protest march. I never saw it again on our networks. All I saw was the action and what Netanyahu is helping form, or what we hear in the media. And there's a lot of stuff that we don't hear about and that people don't notice. Like in the city elections, we got swamped with stuff for Whitmore. We didn't get that much for Sheila Jackson Lee, but people don't realize, hey, we're getting all this stuff from Whitmore, and that's because he's being supported by these corporations, the guys that want to control our government here, city government and state government and national government. And it's time for people to open up their eyes and see what's happening.
And that's what, Augie, I got to jump to Marlene, but I wanted to say one thing to you. You, Brother Augie here, who's a great supporter of KPFT, you are responsible for making sure that a lot of people are informed the way you have been supporting this station. I just wanted to give you a big pat on the back to just say that. Thank you very much, because you allow us to be here doing what we're doing right now. So thank you, brother.
Yeah. And well, there's one more thing you can talk about Panama.
Real quick.
There's a school, there's a group called the SOA in Georgia, the School of the Americas. And it's really a school for dictators. And they train foreign soldiers from Latin America. And some of their graduates were Manuel Antonio Noriega
and Omar Torrijos didn't go, I don't think. But let me tell you better than that, Augie. I used to go to that school because it was in Fort Gulick in Panama. That's where the school was, the School of the Americas. I think it was either Fort Gulick or Fort Davis, right in the Canal Zone, in the area where I lived in Panama. And it was called La Escuela de las Americas, School of the Americas. And they actually trained the people right there, right on the border of Gatun Lake. It was amazing. Yeah. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. After they signed the Panama Canal treaties, it moved in 1999 back up to the United States, but it was stationed in Panama. It's amazing. But thank you, Augie. Let's go to Marlene. Thank you, Marlene. Come on in, Marlene.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Talk to me, Marlene.
And I listen to you just about every morning on my way to work. I just got to work, so I only have a few minutes.
Thank you.
On the Hamas business, what bothers me the most is the fact that they built these tunnels. They had this whole system in place.
Mm-hmm.
And there had to be people that knew. There has to be Palestinians that knew.
Mm-hmm.
If someone attacked my family and I knew about the organization, and I might not know them personally or support them or even believe in their message, but you kind of like, they found tunnels underneath the hospital. Someone in that hospital had to know that those tunnels were there.
Let me explain that to you first of all, right? The tunnel is Israel and Hamas, or rather not Hamas. Is not talking about Hamas. Israel continuously. This bombing that occurring here is just heavy bombing now. But Israel always bombs.
It's horrendous. It needs to stop, period. It does.
Right.
There's no reason for the amount of lives to be lost.
Right.
And then they're going to pay for it.
But let me just say, Marlene,
that Hamas is responsible for it.
No, don't get me wrong. I am not defending Hamas's killing. Okay, I am not at all. But what I have to say, Marlene, is Gaza and the West Bank are under occupation. What that means is that these are people that are there with no rights. They're just there. And that's all that they've got, that piece of land. They have no way of leaving. They have no way of coming unless they go through Israel. Israel controls it all with respect to these people. When they call that an open air prison, that's what it really is, right? So,
right.
So understand the conditions that these people are living in. That there are, look, if I were in an occupied, I'm from Panama, Central America. You're here from America. If you're here in Houston, if Houston was surrounded by the rest of the country, but you had no right to vote, you had no right to travel, you had no right to do anything. What do you have the right to do? You got the right to build tunnels so that if you ever decide you are going to be unoccupied, that you're, in effect, let me just put it bluntly, Gaza was preparing for war. Okay? They were preparing for war.
And I just want to make sure that I'm hearing you right. You're saying that most of the Palestinians then support Hamas.
I'm saying most of the No, I'm sorry.
Right?
I am not saying most Palestinians support Hamas or Hamas. Well, okay, let me back up. I would say if we're a very honest, we're able to say things honestly with the expectation that people understand what I'm saying, I would say most people support what Hamas or or I'm talking about Palestinians now, what Hamas or what the PLO or what all of them stand for, and which is pretty much not to have occupied their territory, to have their own land, just like Americans will support having their own land. You, as an American citizen, would not accept not being able to vote in your land, not being able to do any of these things in your land. Am I correct or am I not correct?
Oh, you're right. I agree.
So therefore, and remember, these are people under occupation. As even yesterday, we had settlers in the West Bank taken away just because they have the right to do so under certain conditions, blowing up the house of somebody in the West Bank just because they could, and get them off the land and take it. There's a whole lot of things that we here in the United States don't hear because we're not allowed to hear it. Our newspapers don't cover it, etc. But if we read papers from around the world, we can see it, right? So it's not look, I don't support the killing by anybody, Marlene. Sister Marlene, I support no killing. But I support the dignity of every human being. And right now, Palestinians are living without dignity. Right now, when our Biden, who I voted for, who I am likely to vote for again, because it's the only logical thing to do, in my humble opinion. But when I see the disregard, when he says, I am asking Israel to kill less people as they find Hamas, there's just something that hits my heart, especially being from Panama, when I saw our own country, the United States, go into Panama, bomb indiscriminately to get one guy, Noriega. It's just a disregard of some people's lives that I don't get, that I dispute. You see what I'm saying, Marlene?
I just feel like the Hamas needs to bear responsibility also for
They
this.
should. Absolutely. You're correct, Marlene. Hamas was.
People
Go ahead.
are turned a blind eye. If my child was in the hospital, and I knew that there was tunnels underneath the hospitals, and I know that someone's looking for those tunnels, I'm sorry. I'm going to say there's tunnels under that hospital. Go in there and get them. Don't bomb the whole hospital.
Let me go ahead and ask you the question a different way. Let me ask you a different way. Let's say you were in a hospital in Houston that was occupied, and there are tunnels that are scattered throughout Houston on your occupied land. Will you tell the rest, the people who have occupied you, where those tunnels are?
If I thought it was going to save lives?
Oh, no. Okay, let me correct that. I love what you just said, because what you said makes sense. I love what you said. You're saying if I knew that tunnel was going to, it's saying, okay, wait till we get out of this hospital. Now you can vomit. I get that point. That I would do. In other words, if I knew that they were absolutely going to go through me to bomb that tunnel, and I know where that tunnel was, yes, ma'am. I'm not disagreeing with you there.
That's my point. I instead of destroying the whole hospital, they could have just destroyed the tunnel if they knew where the tunnel was.
And guess what? And Israel could do that too, right? Israel
is wrong. For doing this. Definitely wrong. But I also feel that Hamas bears responsibility for what they're doing.
No doubt.
Total responsibility, but we have to put them at the same level as that we're blaming Israel for.
Let me see if I can come to an agreement with you on one thing, dear Marlene. Here's this. There are 20
people are arguing about this. They understand that their position is being, the humanitarian crisis is just, the people are seeing this. and they're loving it. They're not doing anything to help the Palestinians. What are they to help their own people? What are they doing to help their own people?
Marlene, first of all, I want to thank you for calling. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to thank you for being able to have a civil conversation on this issue where, there are things that one can agree with, because I think this is a conversation, and this is a type of conversation we need to be having on this issue. So thank you for calling. I have some more calls that I got to get, but I appreciate you calling for the first time. If you want a Politics Done Right bumper sticker, drop me a line at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. I'll send you one. Okay.
All right. I appreciate it. I enjoy your program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You have a wonderful day. All right. Let's go to Mike. Come on in. No, Bard. Come on in, Bard. Okay. Well, Mike is on. Come on in, Mike.
Yeah. Good morning. I hope Marlene is listening, and I appreciate Marlene calling and having an honest discussion. Mm-hmm. But what I think what she needs to take into account is that Hamas has been armed and financed by Israel. This is not controversy anymore. It used to be kind of like, oh, are we sure, or rumors about it. Now there's no controversy about it anymore. It is out in the open. The former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, spoke about it very clearly, how it's Netanyahu, but of course Netanyahu can't do it on his own. That means he's got the state behind him, the security services, the spy services, all that behind him, funding Hamas, arming them for the reason that, and the reason they were doing that is so that they could tell the world, look, here's these terrorists, and we're going to keep fighting these terrorists, and we cannot have peace negotiations and discussion about a Palestinian state.
Mike,
because look,
Mike, the only reason I'm cutting you there is you're correct, and I already stated that when I was speaking to Mike, the other Mike that called in. So our phones are loaded, and I want to give everybody. I'm sorry.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I just want to give everybody a chance to talk, and our lines are completely filled up. So thank you so kindly for calling. Let's go to Joni. Come on in, Joni.
Good morning. Hi. I was just listening to the conversation, and it struck me, and I don't know a whole lot of the history, but I have made, the note that it looks like Netanyahu's Israel has taken a page out of Nazi Germany's playbook, which is to, sequester the Jews, is what they did back in Germany. And they're doing that to the Palestinians, and, to the point that, it was removal of, it was meant to be removal of the Jews from Germany back then. And that's exactly what's going on now. It looks like to me is that Netanyahu's government is trying to remove the Palestinians from Israel using the same playbook that Nazi Germany used. So, which is ironic, given what Nazi Germany did to the Jews. You would think, and I guess it's kind of like when someone is abused, what happens, an abused person.
Joni, let me just interrupt you, because we have a lot of calls, and I want to say one thing. You have your eyes open, and all I ask everybody to do who's watching this, because we have to be tempered the way we say certain things, especially when we have the responsibility, like I have the responsibility, I am on air. I have to be careful to make sure we do nothing to mislead or create any kind of chaos. But I tell you what, open your eyes, and you have noticed something. Continue reading, continue studying from reputable sources, and you'll find all the congruence to what you've just said. Joni, I got to let you go because my phones are full, and I wanted to give everybody at least 30 seconds. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and go to Bard. Come on in, Bard. And Bard, I'm sorry I'm going to cut you tight, but give me just 30 seconds. Bard, you're on. You may be on mute, Bard. All right, let's go to Johnny. Johnny, I'm going to have to cut you to 30 seconds only, my friend. The mayor of Politics Done Right.
All righty. One simple rhetorical question for Maureen. Maureen, if you're listening, my question to you. What did Netanyahu do for those liberal Israeli citizens in that Kibbutz farm? What did he do for them? Or more importantly, what did he do to them?
Thank you, Johnny. Johnny, I ask everybody to read on your points present. Let's go to Alan. Alan. Come on in, Alan. Alan. How you doing, brother? Whoops. Okay, you'll be on in a second, Alan. I see that you're about to go. You're on now, Alan.
Yeah, a couple quick observations. Where did Hamas put all the dirt for these alleged 100 miles of excavations? Where did the dirt go?
Folks know where the dirt goes. We know where it's at.
No, how do they excavate it out of there and not have it noticed or seen? That's a huge quantity of earth.
And it was all seen, okay? It was all seen. It was all known about, Alan. I think that's what you're getting at. It's the same thing that Mike spoke about with the support of Hamas by the Netanyahu government for a reason. Now you can blow all this crap up that got created and have a reason to do so. What's your second topic, Alan, before I jump to Brian for 30 seconds?
Yeah, speaking of abortions, your signature sign-off can be kind of clashing with that if you stop and think about the slang use of the word baby. So,
got you, bro. Thank you, Alan. You're a good guy. Thank you very much. Let's go to Brian real quick. Come on in, Brian. 30 seconds.
Yeah, 76% of the Palestinian people voted for Hamas as their governmental system. So it's their own fault. It's not ours.
Okay, 48% of the people voted for Trump. For all the calamity that he's caused, it's your fault. I don't try to hold you accountable for creating a horrendous person like. So I got to go though. But thank you very much for your great statement. Let's take it back to the studio.
Back to the studio it is. Boy, what a lot of fun we've had this morning, and a lot of phone callers too. I have nothing, but Jack has some wisdom here.
Yeah, what I got was what we do in these situations is we shoot ourselves in the foot as a means to an end. It gives reason to demonize and retaliate. That's the play they're using in Gaza.
Thank you, studio, Howard and Jack. Thank you for the great calls that we had today. Thank you, listeners, for I just love you guys. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.